some fantastic news for Bernie, but again, now's not the time to, take it easy.
Now's the time to fight.
Now's the time, time to fight. So first, a major progressive group has just endorsed Senator Bernie Sanders, and that is Democracy for America. They were originally going to be supportive of both Warren and Sanders, but the group did a survey during an 11-day voting period and found that 80% of its membership supports Sanders, easily surpassing the 67% threshold the group used to determine whether to endorse someone. Warren received about 13% of the vote. To be clear, this group also endorsed and supported Bernie Sanders back in 2016, helping him to raise $2 million, organizing 119,000 volunteers to basically make sure that Bernie Sanders gets on the ballot and that he gets the nomination. So this is fantastic news. On top of that, part two, and this is taking place in California, a state that is very rich in delegates. So to our California viewers, or anyone who knows anyone who's a Bernie Sanders supporter or an independent that likes to support Bernie Sanders, now's the time to help them know what the rules and regulations of that state's primary is so that they can actually turn out to vote. Why am I saying this? Because around 25,000 rallied to a Bernie Sanders event for Senator Bernie Sanders. No duh. So here we go. So this is something that's very interesting. About 25,000 people attended. And again, Bernie Sanders went on to say that the corporate establishment is getting nervous. Look at the turnout here. The political establishment is getting nervous as well. Some in the Democratic establishment are saying, my God, look at the turnout here! Exclamation point. So the Sanders campaign's California rallies came just within 48 hours of Super Tuesday. There's about 1,357 delegates that are up for grabs, 415 in the state of California alone. Again, 415 delegates are up for grabs. The key thing is making sure that there's voter turnout and election integrity. And already some independent media outlets have been reporting that there are some situations in California. To the voters there, do not get discouraged. Find out which way you can to get your vote out there. You have to make your vote heard. And this is important, especially if we want to take this narrative and momentum away from establishment candidates, because we cannot allow election fraud to happen. We cannot forget what happened in 2016 either, where all of a sudden a lot of votes, especially for Bernie Sanders, disappeared like that. So again, this is very clear. What this article is saying, though, is like a lot of polling is showing that Sanders is bolstered by support of a lot of Latino voters in the state of California, and this was done by the Los Angeles Times UC Berkeley survey released on Friday. So this is fantastic for Senator Bernie Sanders in regards to getting his name out there. This is really fantastic that Democracy for America, an organization that endorsed Senator Bernie Sanders in 2016, has endorsed him again. I think there's a lot of momentum behind this, but Paul, let's weigh in on this real quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important endorsement, and we've been going over a lot of these endorsements on the show. I don't know what more there is to say about it. I mean, Bernie keeps getting the backing of the type of groups that you actually want him to be getting the backing of, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whereas I feel like Biden came out and was like, a major endorsement of some governor.
Tim Kaine and Debbie Wasserman Schultz went for
Biden.
Schultz.
Yeah, I saw that one.
I mean, my God, those are some hard-hitting players, right?
Awesome. Boy, talk
about
that did it.
It's over, Paul.
Yeah, the guy
it's over.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who stepped down from the DNC.
Yeah.
Because of the leak. Oh, my goodness.
I don't know.
The uneven way in which they handled the 2016 primary. That's, okay, boy, great endorsement there. But you get someone like Democracy for America, and it's like, yeah. And even their name is apt at this point, where what we're talking about is the Democratic Party going to go against their actual name, be completely undemocratic, use their superdelegates, and take this thing away from Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
And so I think it's excellent. It's the kind of thing that we need to be loud about. We need to make sure that people know that he's getting these endorsements, and again, encourage people to get out there and give Bernie Sanders his support when your state is going to be voting in the primary.
The key word is to turn out to vote. But Daniel, get the final word on
so I
this
just want to say,
quick.
like, don't forget, and all the stuff that's happening and all the election fraud we've been talking about, Sanders has won an unprecedented first 3 states.
And popular vote.
And the popular vote. He's leading in delegates. He has more volunteers than anyone. He just brought in a story. We have so many stories about this. We didn't even get to cover. He brought in $45 million last month, which is more than he's ever brought in. He has more volunteers than ever. And Super Tuesday, he's about to, like, the worst case scenario, he wins just over 50%, and only the biggest states are the ones he wins. So keep fighting. Don't give up. Don't be discouraged, but understand that people are going to try and trick you. They're going to close polling stations. We already saw half the places in California. They're like, oh, well, we had early voting,
Texas too.
So we don't need that.
And in Texas,
They're
too.
trying to keep people out. So what you need to do is, if you're in a place that can help, if you can ferry people if you can, when you're going to vote, if you can fill up your car, carpool, or keep going back and forth, taking 4 people at a time, if enough people do that, that can shift an entire election.
The key word is community and help.
Yeah.
Call your aunt that likes Amy Klobuchar and tell them you know of a different candidate that she should support.
Yeah, like I was actually had a message with someone, I think it was earlier this day, that was mentioning that we talked about this on the show last week. They had an Elizabeth Warren person that was coming over to their house that they invited for dinner. They sat down with them, they had a wonderful dinner, and by the time that they left, that Elizabeth Warren person was now a Bernie Sanders person. Remember, the way we win is by winning, and the way we don't win is by punching water. Don't just go to like Warren people or Biden people and say, how stupid is it that you're making a terrible choice to take this candidate that's horrible. Most of the time, they're just going with what they saw on the news. They're just making a decision that they think is best for them. There's going to be fanatics. There's always fanatics everywhere, just like there's always assholes everywhere. Don't worry about those people. Get the people that aren't that involved. Like a lot of Biden people probably don't know about his record. They probably don't know he sniffs girls' hair. A lot of Warren people that ask what they like about her. A lot of Warren people will probably say she's against money in politics. Talk about the story we just covered today. She's not against money in politics. She's taking more than anyone. You know who is against money in politics?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders.
There we go.
You know what tactic I've run across on Twitter that I think is just absolutely fantastic for combating this Bernie bro type smear is when somebody goes on there and they're like, you know, if Bernie wins the general election, I'll never vote for him, and they go off on some tirade about why they hate Bernie Sanders or like why they won't vote at all sometimes. The most common reply I see from Burners is like, well, if he wins, we'll keep fighting for your health care. Yeah. It's like, no. Perfect response. And like, we have no vitriol. Like, you can have your opinion. We're going to fight for the candidate we want. And you know what? You're going to get health care out of that, too.
And so just as a really super final note on this, that if you're very much on that same line, that be supportive. Because remember, the way we win people over is by winning them over. So you're not going to win someone over by telling them that they're wrong. You're going to win them by convincing them that a lot of times make it their idea. Yeah. But get people on your side.
The key word is kindness and being compassionate. And remember, we got corporate media that's controlling the narrative. A lot of people have not unplugged themselves. So remember, Super Tuesday, go out to vote, know the rules and regulations and your rights as a voter. Let's kick this revolution into overdrive.